What I'd like to talk about now is your creative process. Oftentimes, can be a hard question to answer, but what I'd really like to get at is kind of how you see your overall process and how all of this comes together.
It's pretty much ongoing. It's not like a stop and start thing. We have a very organised timetable, which is a pretty essential beginning to the whole operation, as I think the more structured you are in that way is the more freedom you can have in a creative way. Even though we're quite well down the line for autumn-winter '09, we've started doing research for spring-summer next season. So while some people are working on a whole area of things, someone else is working on new stuff. So it's kind of very, very organised like that. From like a sketching point of view, I pretty much draw all the time. And, I don't know, tear things out of magazines, take pictures on my iPhone of stuff when I'm herring around wherever I am, buy books continually. So all that as a kind of creative process is continual.
Let's hone in now on the specific illustration components of your creative process and the role that plays throughout.
I think I'm more of a designer who's always drawn. It's my way of getting ideas out that then can become designs that can be solved. It's a pretty basic but fun thing for me. I obviously really enjoy it, and I think it also is a very nice way of portraying what kind of, because I think clothes can have characters within them, because if you just have a spec of something, you could give it to 10 different factories or cutters and they'd all come back with something invariably different. Whereas if you have a spec and a sketch of something on a figure, they can get an idea of what you're really looking for. And I think when you're working with really highly skilled people, they take that they understand it and they can interpret it much clearer. What you're actually wanting as the kind of finish and finesse of things.
Let's make that a little bit more concrete. You had this dress that Jessica Stam came out in your last collection, covered with Pacman and skeletal forms. How did that particular dress come together the way it did?
That piece in itself, the artwork for it was relatively quick. They did that. We do all these in-house as well, all these pieces. Took about 2 weeks to get the artwork correct. The dress itself was relatively quick to do. And then the actual application of all the crystals took about a month of a team of 10, and they ended up using nearly 250,000 hand-applied Swarovski crystals on it. So it was quite a labour of love, and I think really showed that as well. I was really pleased with how that piece came out.
The other thing that you do in-house a lot, or completely, I believe, is fabric development.
Yeah.
And prints.
Yeah.
And a lot of the prints obviously come from illustration as well, or from drawing. Talk a little bit about the whole fabric development process, because some of the things that you've developed over the past 10 seasons are...
No, there's some really beautiful
astoundingly
things.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a big fan of trying to work with not just British, but it's primarily kind of UK, I don't know, like artisans, I suppose you want to call them in a different term. But I don't really like buying, other than kind of gorgeous, we call them plain things, but they're so not plain, fabrics from mills. Other than that, I think to make it more personal than just going and say, oh, that's a print, we'll have that one. It's never really interested me.
Is that how Bambi came about?
That was just a total random one, really. It was quite hysterical how that became and ended up on the front cover of the New York Times. I was moving house and was looking through my old record collection, and there was Who Killed Bambi from the Sex Pistols, which is a very non-aggressive cover. It's a very kind of twee Disney one, and I just thought it'd be quite good fun.
When I look at designers, I usually see two paths of creative development. The first is someone who has a technique or skill or personal style that they refine over the course of their career to a fine point. Another kind of designer seems to go from one fantastic idea to another idea. Seems to me that most people, Giles, would put you in the second category. But do you think you have a signature?
Yeah, I think we definitely have a signature. I say we as the studio. There's definitely a signature. There's, we've got very specific silhouettes that we have become well known for, of which there's probably about 3, and there's this very kind of gorgeous sack shape, a very sort of vavavoom shape, which we call the razor. And then there's a kind of gown shape that has also become really well known. Sure, there's others that come in and without the collection, but those are the kind of three main ones that we're kind of known for, I think, from a buyer's perspective and customer perspective, because I think that's a really important thing to have.
So at the end of this process, when it all comes together and you see the collection, what's your personal reaction to it?
So generally, when we have it in like fitting period, then you really get an understanding of what it is, and that's when it just becomes its own thing, and it becomes that collection. I don't really look at it as I never really analyse things in what part of my personality was in that piece. So I'm not going to beat myself up about a collection. It's move on. We're already on the new one. It's kind of I take it very seriously, but I also don't think that it should be taken to the point of torture.